Mrs. Sarah Dean.
Today, the date is March the 28th, 1962. The time is noon, and we are in the home of Mrs. Sarah Dean at 200 Okeechobee Road in West Palm Beach. Mrs. Dean, did you come here as a child, or were you born here?
I came when I was 12 and a half.
Oh. And when was that?
While the Royal Poinciana was being built in April 93.
1893.
1893.
Now, you must know one thing that there is a difference of opinion upon. Was the Poinciana built and completed before the railroad bridge or afterward?
Before.
Before. Mm-hmm. Where'd you come from?
Dear. I'd spent most of my childhood in Sanford, Florida.
Oh, right in the center of the state.
Yes. Then I was in St. Augustine for 7 months because of my mother wanted a certain physician. Mm-hmm. Then we came here.
What made your family move to this part of the country?
My father was secretary to the president of a railroad which ran between Sanford and Port Tampa. And the railroad changed hands. It was absorbed by the plant system. And the president, who was J.E. Ingraham, became third vice president of this FEC. Now, whether my father, through that influence, became down here, I don't know.
He joined the FEC here?
Well, my father had the sale of the city lots here. Mr. Flagler's land interests.
Was that called the Model Land Company?
It was.
You went to school here?
I did.
What school?
The little red schoolhouse in Palm Beach.
Oh, where was it located?
Halfway between, well, I should say about a mile north of the present towers.
Did you walk there?
I did. At that time, the first summer, we were living just where the towers now stands.
In Palm Beach?
In Palm Beach. We were there 4 months, then came to this side of the lake and lived where the First Baptist Church is at the present time, and lived there 8 years. The property at that time, we could have bought it for $500. We lived in it at $8 a month rent. And during that time, my brother and I both had to be sent to school, which took ready money, so there was no land bought.
You were sent
My brother went to Lake City, which was the beginning of the college, which was later moved to Gainesville.
Oh.
I went to Rollins. There was, at Winter Park, there was no high school here in town.
Who was your teacher here?
Miss Daisy Butler.
Daisy Butler.
Who became Mrs. George Lyman. I think she was the oldest teacher here. Has been here the longest years, I mean, and was used as a substitute after she stopped teaching.
And she taught all grades in one room.
Mm-hmm. But she was not my first teacher.
Oh.
My first teacher was on the east side of the lake in this little red schoolhouse. It was a Miss Cluett.
The Cluetts were among the earliest settlers, weren't they?
I believe they were. Mm-hmm.
They were even, they came before Flagler, too.
Oh, yes. The place became settled. My father came south in '75 and sailed through this lake with a sailboat, but not finding many people and just one couple, he thought it was too lonesome for one couple to venture so far away from a settlement. And that was in '75, but in '72 people came, and it took 19 men 2 weeks to dig the first inlet. The lake was 4 feet higher than the ocean, and when they dug a ditch from the ocean inland and from the lake out, and then opened the two, and the water went through with such a rush. Have you heard this story before?
No.
That the men were afraid their campsite would be swept away. So one of the men in the middle of the night, he said, "Run for your lives, run for your lives." and it was only a dream.
Oh.
They were far enough away, but it was an actual fact, the way the first inlet was opened, with wheelbarrows and shovels.
Have you any idea the names of any of those people who participated in that first digging?
Well, there was Captain Dimmick. I don't know the initials. That you could find.
Yes.
And Mrs. Enos is his daughter. E.N. Dimmick, I believe.
I think that's right. And he led...
And then there was Everard Gear. I think that he was younger. I think because he was sent away, his mother wrote the first article in a publication which my husband published called The Historian.
Oh, yes.
And I complimented him on, well, the English, the whole story. He said, well, my mother was an educated woman. So it must have been his father who was here, because they took the children back to Michigan to be educated.
This was in the 70s.
This was what?
This was in the 70s, when they did the digging of the inlet.
Well, yes. It was sometime between 72 and 75, because my father sailed through the lake in 75.
And it was here then.
And then went back to Rockledge, where my brother and I made our advent into this world.
This rather changed the picture of the lake, the coming of the inlet, didn't it? I mean, it let the salt water in, for example.
Yes. Before that, it was a lake named for General Worth, who must have been in the Indian Wars, probably. Or it was in some war. He was a general.
Well, yes, they fought all through here in
And
the Seminole
this
Wars.
military trail, known as Capron, C-A-P-R-O-N, I think, Capron Trail.
Was that what it was originally called?
Yes.
And where did it originally stretch from?
Well, I know it was back of the, well, we'll say from Titusville.
All
How
the way-
much farther north it went than Titusville, I don't know, but farther south than here. It followed the ridge that's on the east coast of Florida. It was the only high land they had. And now Palm Beach, there is a ridge on the ocean of dry land and also on the lake, but the most of the land in between was swamp. And when we came in 93, all workmen wore bee veils, a veil over like a Stetson hat to hold it in place. Never thought of going anywhere without them. The bees were like, the mosquitoes were like a cloud, lots of them.
Blot out the sun, did they?
Oh, they blotted out the sun, yes. And also ducks.
Oh, really?
They would come through like clouds, lots of ducks, where we don't have them now. And there were no seawalls. Well, that gave the ducks a feeding ground. But when seawalls went in, that stopped it. The ducks couldn't get close to the shore.
And also the salt water probably ruined their feeding grounds.
I don't know anything about the feeding of ducks. Why, what are these things that are on the ocean? These animals, these gulls.
Yeah.
Well, now they feed in salt water.
Well, they're a different breed, perhaps. I think they're of the tern family.
That might be.
What do you remember best about your days as a little girl in this area?
Oh, I went fishing.
Oh, you were a fisherman, huh?
I fished. There were very few children. And so we, who were children, would play together and play amicably together. We had a good time together. And we made a small boat out of 2 planks, 10 feet long, 9 inches high, and 2 feet wide. And in that, there were 3 of us, came to 270 pounds. I believe that was correct, because we were all in that neighborhood of 12 and 13, 11, 12, 13.
How'd you ever put it together?
Oh, a boy called T-Bone Nilsson, Nilson. He was a Swede, his father and his mother. And then he had a sister. and he put it together. We used box tops, white pine boxes that at that time things were shipped in. Groceries, I suppose. And then another thing, we used oil barrels, which were burned out to get the oil out, made a charcoal on the inside, and we used them for rainwater.
Oh.
Because our water supply was not unlimited, we had that with pumps. It was more or less brackish, being too near the lake, if it were near the lake.
How did you dig a well? Just stick a stick in the ground?
Yes, well, you used something heavy to let it come down on a pipe, and wouldn't need to be more than 15 feet deep, anywhere. Why, the water table is, I should say it isn't over 4 feet deep under this house.
That's right. That's right.
I have a deep well in the front yard now, about 70 feet, and we did have one in the rear where the Holiday is now, was part of my father's property. This we bought for $750, running from the lake to the Dixie, about 1,300 feet.
And how wide was it?
175 deep. And Father gave 20 feet for Okeechobee Road, and then 10 feet for a sidewalk, and then the city charged him $1,500 for paving it. But he got a lawyer. He had a lawyer who got him out of paying for it after giving them the land.
This boat that you all put together, did it have a name?
Oh no, but we used a rock for an anchor. My mother had given my brother a ring, and as he threw the rock out, the ring went with it. I guess it was a wedding ring. And the people in Palm Beach, we were fearless. Children don't realize dangers at all, and we went out as far as the middle of the lake. We could have, starting from Whitehall, or Flagler Museum possibly, which had a store on it. Well, it was like a commissary. It had a little of everything in that store. And there were always some people there. So by the time we children were ready to come back home, there may have been 25 people on that point watching to come pick us up, but they didn't have to.
Was this a row or a paddle job?
Paddle, one to each end. And we used umbrellas for sails. Oh, I don't know how many we ruined.
And what did you fish with?
A hook and line.
Just a hand line?
Just a hand line.
Baited with what?
No poles. Angleworms. And then fish, too. Cutting a fish all to pieces. And children could work together so that two would be fishing. One would be fishing and one would be baiting, just as fast as we put them in the water. They were little fish, sailor's choice, and other similar small fish. Then we fried our fish on the lake shore. We cooked them after of course, we dressed them. And that was when I began to grow. When I was 10 years old, I was a little runt. And by the time I was 15, I have my present height, which is even less now than it was then. I grew so fast, I outgrew my strength, so I was out of school for a year.
Oh.
But that's what going bareheaded and barefooted will do for a child. They're happy. Oh, we were happy children.
Doesn't even hurt adults to be outdoors.
Oh, it does you good.
Sure.
Of course it does.
What kind of clothes did girls wear?
Well, we learned not to wear any because they were so uncomfortable. It was hot in the summertime, and I've never gotten used to high necks and small waists and long skirts. I was glad to get rid of them. Of course, I had to go into them by the time I was 20. I was married when I was about 20.
Oh.
But it's We used, now bathing suits were really quite pretty. They were usually black, trimmed in white braid. Full skirts.
Yes, voluminous.
And, yes, and puff sleeves, sailor collars.
I've often wondered, could you swim in them?
Oh, I attempted to swim across the inlet when I was a little girl. And, of course, I was up there with one of the original people on the lake, who was Ben Potter. And he had a boat named the Ina, about 40 feet long, 2 sails, a Sharpie, and there were, 12 or 13 of us went up to the inlet for the weekend. And I suggested that the boat was anchored right in the middle, from one shore to the other, just at, well, the point of where the water was coming in. And the tide was coming in, and some of us there was one gentleman named Mr. Wilson in the boat. And I suggested to my date, who happened to be the man that I married later, that we swim out to the boat. But he gave up, went back to shore, so I went on alone. And when I got to the boat, she gave a lurch and went 50 feet the other way on the anchor. So I just called for a rope. And Mr. Wilson jumped overboard and brought it to me. The water was about shoulder deep and too strong for me to stand. And I could have been drifted down to the flats. I didn't mind it, but then I thought it'd be better not to. So they laughed at me for years, the way I swam across the inlet. And during this childhood time, the water on the beach, the rougher the water was, the better I liked it.
Oh.
And Mrs. Carnegie Phipps swam across the pier, swam around the pier when I was a child. I don't know what...
That was a great feat, huh?
Oh, yes, it was. Well, I think it would be greater now because of the sharks, because of the fishing and the more dangerous fish that live around this shore now that I never heard of then.
They never came in close before, huh?
Yes, I remember seeing a shark on the beach. But we didn't, there's no need to tempt fate. No need to be, I don't know how she happened to do it. And the Phipps bought the property that I had been living with and improved it. And then later, Miss Amy Phipps, she was Mrs. Carnegie Phipps' daughter and became Mrs. Captain Guest, married an Englishman. And Mrs. Phipps' father and mother, Mr. and Mrs. Schaefer, lived in this property where the Baptist Church now owns, called Youth Center. And after I became married, I'd take my young children to ride in a baby carriage just through the woods down there. And she said, "Why do Americans have such highfalutin names? We English people like Jack and Charles and John, Jack and Charles. John, what is that? Tom, Dick, and Harry, I guess we'll call it." Well, my first baby was named for his father, Liesel Wallace, his 2 grandfathers. My daughter was named for her father, Alvane, Albane, I guess. The 3rd little boy was Nelson. I called it DeJournette. My daughter calls it Dubonnet or something like that. A French pronunciation, because my husband's mother was French. And she now has a little French poodle with that same name, but I can't say it.
What was your maiden name?
Sarah Moses.
Moses.
M-O-S-E-S. They didn't give me any middle name. They said I'd have one when I got married.
Well,
it was an English family and came to this country. I started to say 1620. It might have been in that neighborhood anyway. and was Moyses.
There
Then
were a few
became-
landed in 1620.
And then became Mosses. Then someone dropped the other S. So that's history of the name. Came Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
What church did you attend here?
Congregational.
Was that the first church?
Oh, yes. I think it was built in March, tell you in a minute, 94.
Over on the Palm Beach side?
No, on
here?
this side. On this side. I think it was built by Flagler.
When did West Palm Beach come into being? About that time?
That same time, in 93. It was only built to accommodate the workmen over in Palm Beach.
Oh.
Ice was shipped here in barrels with sawdust around it. But we very early did have an ice factory, they called it, and it was located, not far from where the Flagler Memorial Bridge. And that bridge, the first winter, we'll go back, the Poinciana opened, I believe, in January of 94. Because it was being built through the summer of 93, and the people were carried across by boat. And the man who carried their trunks and some freight over was paid $400 a month, which was good wages at that time.
I would say so. Most of the workmen got about $1.25 a day.
Yes, $1 and $1.25. And the bridge came on the next year. That would be 95, wouldn't it? And then, as I remember going over that bridge, there were planks laid between the rails. We often went that way. But in time, they must have built a sidewalk on the side. And at night, the bridge was open, the draw was open for boats to go through, and pedestrians couldn't go through after 10 o'clock
Well, then the railroad must have gotten down here
in the next
at
year.
the same time that the bridge was built.
They were building the railroad at both ends at the same time, and it took us 5 days from St. Augustine to get here. Because we came down by rail as far as Cocoa, and then by boat from there to Jupiter. And the boat had railroad iron on it, and also a lighter that it pushed ahead of it, covered with railroad iron. And there was no marked channel through Indian River Narrows, so the boat frequently ran aground, and that they had to shift that weight from one boat to the lighter and back again to get us off. And we changed boats at 2 o'clock one night. The boat we got off of got into Jupiter first, naturally. Then there was a little railroad running between Jupiter and Juno, Mars and Venus, two little towns, just little settlements, and that's what they were called. Jupiter, Juno, Mars, and Venus. And Juno was the county seat, I believe, because people had been in this area since 72, and this was 93 or 4. We've gotten up that far. And then we came down by steamer, a small steamer, from Juneau to Palm Beach and West Palm Beach.
Most of the first people landed on the east shore.
Oh, yes. And there were some very substantial houses. The people came from Massachusetts and from Michigan. Well, there may have been other states too, but those were they were relatives largely.
And West Palm Beach was built to accommodate the workmen, the Flagler workmen?
They were.
What-
Never meant to grow into a big city. And my father sold the lots. He also had the cemetery and the waterworks went through his office.
Oh.
My mother named the streets in the city.
Oh, really?
The original. It began with Althea Banyan, which is now First and Second. I don't know why they eliminated those two. Althea, banyan, clematis, datura, evernia, fern, hibiscus. I don't know what the next would be. Well, as far as Okeechobee anyway.
Hibiscus. Is it?
There's an iris.
Iris.
There's iris and jasmine. And then Okeechobee.
Was she a great lover of flowers?
Well, Mother was an original woman. Must have been. Mother was a well-read woman, so was my father. She taught school in Boston 9 years before being married. It was in the grammar school, not the higher grades. And that is why my brother and I were sent away to school, because they didn't want our education to stop at the 8th grade.
Well, when this thing was first started as a work colony, I presume they just lived in tents and shacks, huh?
It was largely tents all over West Palm Beach. And when the first, Judge Metcalf was a lawyer and one of the first here. His son, Guy Metcalf, was a progressive man. He believed in education, and it was he who suggested the present Central Grammar School and talked until he got money enough to raise it. And the people didn't agree with him at all. They said it's out in the woods, the children will get run over. Well, from the they'd have to cross the railroad. And that wouldn't do. There were no end of objections to building that schoolhouse where it now stands. In 5 years, the city needed the junior high, which takes the 7th, 8th, and 9th grades. My father gave riparian rights to the city for filling in our lowland. So we haven't had any discussion about riparian rights.
Where was the cemetery located?
Just where Norton Gallery, no, wait a minute, the first one is just where Cress's store is. That was a cemetery for the whole lake, which is about 22 miles long, I believe.
And then
many of the remains were moved to the location where Norton Gallery is now. Then it was moved from there to Woodlawn, which Mr. Flagler gave the land. And I think the upkeep, for how long, I couldn't tell you. But my brother planned the cemetery. You see, I was right in the middle of all this.
The first one?
The Woodlawn.
Yeah. Oh, the Woodlawn.
Woodlawn. The other two, I don't know.
How did they, before there was a cemetery, what did they do when people died?
Well, this one that was where Cress's store is, that must have been the one that was used, because it had many, many graves in it at the time the town started.
And then when it was moved to Norton Gallery, they must have used boats to go for a funeral.
Yes, guess they did.
Did they have doctors? Was there a doctor
Oh,
here?
yes, we had 2 doctors. One was Dr. Hood, and one was Dr. Richard Potter. And at one time, and they were good friends. The whole lake enjoyed each other. I think pioneer people do. And there was one time, for a few days, my mother was, we'll say very sympathetic that someone must be very sick down at the end of the lake, because Dr. Potter went in a launch. After a while, we advanced from sailboats to motorboats. But she found later he was going to a pineapple patch. His pineapple patch.
He had a sideline.
Yes. And Dr. Hood, he had an orange grove at Jupiter. Now, whether Dr. Potter had any orange grove at Jupiter, I don't know. But we were frequently without no doctor at all. But yet Dr. Hood lived, just south, not the first building south of Memorial Museum, but the next one. That was his. The first one was M.E. Brailsford. I'm getting these names finally of the people that were here first.
You weren't going to remember anything. You know
No,
that.
I didn't know a thing. C.C. Haight, H-A-I-G-H-T, was a builder who understood his trade, and he built many of the best houses over in Palm Beach. He was from Boston, he and his wife. And then there was a Swift family from Chicago. They were, both of those homes were north, and Bethesda by the Sea was a church, an Episcopal church, a little bit north of the Red Schoolhouse.
Who was the minister?
Not being an Episcopalian, I couldn't tell you.
Who was the minister of your church? The first one.
Oh, who was? I don't think Asbury Caldwell was. He was a minister there. Then there was a Mr. Cady, and there was a Reverend Pierce. I think he was the first one over in Palm Beach.
To get back to the doctors, were there any hospital facilities?
No, there was a child broke her arm when she was about 6 years old, and they took her by boat to Titusville, 150 miles away.
To set the arm.
But she lived through it. What I mean is she was a pianist and still plays. She's a little bit older than I am.
That's Mrs. Enos.
Yes, and I'm 81. Was last December.
Never know it.
Wonder why.
Were you musically inclined?
Not at all. Can't even carry a tune. I can, singing along with other people. But I can't say that I enjoy music as some people do. I like to hear it. But I don't like to hear it steady. I should think musicians would go crazy.